Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about coordinate geometry, and that just has to do with finding the slope or the slant of a line, the midpoint or middle of a line, and the distance or length of a line. So we'll go through all of these for a couple problems. It's a good idea anytime you're doing these to go ahead and be sure you are always sketch a graph. So please take the time to sketch a graph. That'll help you out a lot. Let's go ahead and try this first one. So the point -4, +2, I go over to -4, up to 2, so that would be this point right here. The point 1, 2 is I go over 1 and up 2, which would be this point here. So for starters, the slope of this line is 0. Now, if I would have looked for my change in y, I would have had 0, and then the change there is 5. So my slope, I could have done 0 over 5, but sketching the graph, you see a horizontal line, which always has a slope of 0. So the first thing we have for this one is a slope or an m value of 0. So that's answer number 1. The other thing we might want to do is find the midpoint. The midpoint would be the line in the middle. So you'd be looking about halfway on this line, about right there. You can tell since this line has a flat line, the y-coordinate of that point we just drew would be 2. But I basically need to see what point is in the middle of -1 and -4 and 1. Well, one easy way to find the midpoint is by averaging. So I could add -4 plus 1 and divide it by 2, just taking the average. So -4 plus 1 is -3, so I would have the answer of -3/2. And then 2 plus 2 would be 4, divided by 2 is 2. So -3/2, 2. And if I look at it, that x I drew there is about a -3/2 or -1.5. So that's how you find the midpoint. Finally, the distance. For some of these, you'll need to use the Pythagorean theorem, but on this one, it's really simple because since it's at a horizontal or vertical line, the only thing that changed is this x value. So the distance, the length of this line is 5 because it is 5 from -4 to 1. So that makes it easy to find the distance. So a slope of 0, a midpoint of -3/2, 2, and then a distance of 5. We'll go ahead and do a couple other examples in another video.